We've been.
Okay. Need to check on that. I have one more witness that's not here. I'm going to check with Jessica to see if they're texted or anything because they live away. And then with Jessica. So possibly 3, probably 2 more witnesses. And then we're finished up.
If Shelby testify.
That's not my plan.
If he does testify, I would request a brief recess so that I can prepare I've got a cross prepared. I just want to have it ready.
Okay.
We'll have a brief recess for everyone. That's it. You didn't hear her, right? So yeah, I'm not thinking people. Oh,
Can we go back and sit down while we're waiting?
Oh,
I
yeah.
don't think we're doing anything right now.
no, just looking for it.
Excuse me, Your Honor. Can I check something quick?
No, sir. Not right now. No, sir.
Can I approach you on, say something, please?
Sir, right now, you need to be speaking through your lawyers right now, sir, so please, restrain yourself. Counsel approach. Anybody here? We need to meet. Nobody here.
Are they on the way?
I don't know. I don't have a clue.
The transport order was clear, right? I made sure that it was in that day. Do we want to take a break and call him to see if anybody's actually bringing him? I think we can move on.
If someone else we can do now, and then we take a break.
Yeah. I need to check with Jessica, who also left the courtroom, so I need to check with her.
These
Either the next
witnesses are gonna have to hang
or
around. They're gonna be here and hang around.
My suggestion is if we're going to have a break, we get the jury out of here. Do they have a comfortable place to sit? I mean, are they going out there to sit on those hard benches? That's terrible. And then what I was told yesterday, please, I'm saying this for the record has nothing to do with counsel or intentional anything. Nobody knows this, or it's not come to our attention. But I think there's been some intermingling just because of where they're situated between jury and witnesses, which is never a wonderful thing.
I do think they could have had lunch breaks. Witnesses in the conference rooms, and the jury would have walked past them. And when they first got here in the morning, I don't know if they immediately went to the conference room.
Right. But let's just keep in mind that when we are on a break, these jurors are sitting on the lower benches.
Oh, there. So where are we going right now?
Judge, I don't think they have a.
Well, I think there's an order to bring him here, and nobody knows if he's on his way or if they ignored your order. But those are the only 2 options, right? Because he's not here. So we need to find that out first. We also have an investigator that can testify, and then we are basically done.
Okay.
But I would have some objections.
You call and see if he's on his way or where they are, what they're doing.
Do you want to call since it's your order they're either following or not following?
Do what?
Do you want to call since it's either your order that they're following or not following?
I don't know who to call.
Okay.
I don't have a clue.
I think it's just Big Sandy, like the little Sandy. That I think is the number on the order. I'll get the number.
As we're all aware, that's not this will not be the first time that an order has not been, when it comes to the transport of.
I know. We've had transport orders go south before.
I guess then we would have to put together what we think his testimony would be and enter that in the record so the jury could hear that, or we would ask that to be done if they ignored your order, but they may be on their way because I don't even know where Little Sandy is. So let me make some calls.
I'm going to have some things to say about that, but we'll
And
bridge we get to. Hopefully,
What's an avowal? It wouldn't be in front of the jury.
well,
he'd be on.
Is it correct?
I think it goes-
If you give me the phone number, I'll call and find out. And a prisoner, if he has a number,
Yes.
a convict number, an ID number.
But right now, we're letting the jury go.
Yeah,
So
give him a
we're-
break, and then so I can make that call, and we'll get right back in here. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, I need to make a call about something, and so we're going to give you a 10-minute break. Same admonition as usual. Don't talk about this among yourselves. Don't form any opinions, and don't let anyone approach you or talk to you about it. And if someone does, please go back to me. Thank you. You're silent. Bring the number back. All right, we're back on the record now. Yes, sir. Who's this? All right, okay, that's fine. Yeah, sure. Okay. We'll be ready to go in just a moment. Beautiful day outside. I understand it's supposed to get up in the 70s today. Spring's upon us.
It's storm tonight.
Huh?
Yeah.
Storm tonight?
Yeah, they're
Really?
giving severe storms.
Well, it's spring.
Yeah.
I'm glad that mud in my yard is almost dry.
Yeah.
Get some more water.
Yeah.
Exactly.
All right, the defendant, Mr. Shell, is back in the courtroom, and we're jury seated, and we're ready to go. Would you call your next witness, please, Mr. Simon?
Sure, defense call Jessica Wells.
Jessica West?
Wells.
Wells. All right. Now, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Would you have a seat over here in the witness stand, and please speak loudly and clearly.
Morning, Ms. Wells.
Good morning.
Could you tell the jury your name and a little bit about your job and what you do and what?
My name is Jessica Wells. I'm an investigator for the Public Defender's Office or the Department of Public Advocacy. I work on the defense team.
You're an investigator for the defense team of Mr. Shell, is that right?
Yes, exactly.
And so you've done some investigation.
Yes.
Could you tell the jury about some of the things that you do in your job? You collect some records, is that right?
Yes, I collect records. I make sure that they're certified by either the company or the location that they are coming from to verify that they were created by that department.
And you talk to witnesses?
Yes, I've talked to witnesses as well and do interviews with them.
Do you get any training as part of your job?
Yes, we do several trainings throughout the year from our department in Frankfurt. We also do a 1 week full length training on basic interview techniques and just the basics of the job, really.
As part of that record collection, do you ever in your job have to obtain phone records?
Yes, we do obtain phone records on many different cases, not just cases at this level.
Could you tell the jury a little bit about the types of records that you can get, that you're able to get?
You can get records from phone companies as far as call logs, just like basically if you can request them as well as yourself, except they're certified when they come to me. You can get cell tower data through different protocols, I guess, different processes that you can get that from.
So fundamentally, you can get who called who
Yes,
and when,
yes,
right?
Mhm.
You can also get, I heard you say cell tower data.
yes.
Could you tell the jury what that is?
Cell tower data is basically, it kind of like, I guess, pings, locations of certain cell phones at certain
Your Honor, we
times.
approach.
Mhm.
Getting data and getting certified records and documents is far from having a requisite authentication level to talk about what those things are, what they mean, what they do. If she has retrieved certified records, she can state she retrieved them and certified, but she can't talk about the specifics within those records because she is not qualified to do so. She doesn't work for a phone company. She doesn't have knowledge of the contents thereof. She's not in any way even tangentially associated with those fields. Having had to do cell phone things many times in my career as a prosecutor, I understand that in order to get people to talk about that, they have to know and work and have experience in the field of pinging and how cell phone towers work and what this means and whatnot. If she has certified records of things, I have no objection to the introduction, but her telling a jury what these things are with no knowledge.
Is this about the phone log in the absence of that?
Your Honor, I was only going to ask 2 or 3 more questions about this whole topic,
I mean,
but if the court wants me to get into
No, I mean,
her
she
experience in
did the
getting these
pinging
data
that kind of
and
thing.
her experience in knowing what the data contains and how to decipher it, I can. But this line of questioning is only going to last 3 more questions.
Well, let me ask you,
So,
you said
it's up to you.
With the data, does she have information about these phone logs? Is that what we were discussing before when
Yes.
in the motion when you about the phone conversation on matching the logs? Is that what we're getting to?
A little bit,
Uh,
a little bit. But I'm just going to tell the court where this is going. Eventually, I'm going to ask her if she tried to obtain those records in this case, and how she wasn't able to obtain them because after a while that data goes away, and the steps that
That's
she took
fair
to get
enough.
Well,
I
I
mean,
think given that she doesn't even have them, I think we get straight to that point. She is not somebody that can talk about.
She
the
is somebody.
things.
She just is somebody. I didn't ask her about those
Let's wait a minute,
qualifications
wait a minute.
because I'm not going to ask her about deciphering data that we don't have.
Uh,
But if you want me to talk about how she does have that experience and she does have that knowledge, I can. It'll just be 10 or 15 more questions.
Did she go? Wait, let's go back on that. She went. Did she go to the service provider and get the?
Yes.
That's all we
And
need.
that's my 3 more questions.
That's all we need, really.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
All
mean,
right.
that's what I'd ask. We get right to that. Go to the search
Okay.
bar and get
Okay.
it.
Okay. Rather confuse it with pinging. Okay. But yeah. Okay. All right. All right. Go ahead, Si.
I'm just going to get right to it. Did you try to obtain cell phone data for any phones in this case?
Yes, I did attempt to get the cell tower data for the phone that was taken from Shelby Shell. The provider for that phone was.
Okay, I'm going to stop you. Is that white Galaxy phone that was talked about earlier?
Yes. And it was the service provider through that was Sprint. And I talked with a Michelle Bosch, sure I pronounced that wrong. But she says that no records were found as a regular business practice. Sprint can provide CDR for the most recent 18-month period, approximately. This includes cell site data. So those records were unobtainable because she said basically they should have been requested as soon as the phone was taken.
At some point, the cell provider deletes that data.
Yes. Because everyone has a cell phone these days and it's a lot of things.
And according to Sprint, that's about 18 months.
Yes.
And do you remember when Mr. Shell's cell phone was actually tested by the government?
It was well after that. I believe that the report we had said somewhere maybe 2017, I think.
2016?
2016, yes, correct.
So you weren't able to do that?
No.
Okay.
It was not in our possession.
Can you talk a little bit, in your experience in your investigation, do you know how to look up, if you were given an IP address, do you know how to look up the location of that IP address?
Yes, you just
And could you tell the jury what that process is?
once you have the IP address, you just key it into Google. You can actually go to Google and put what is my IP address and it'll bring it up and then you just key in that IP address and it'll tell you where it's located.
How long does that process take?
As long as it takes you to key in a code, a number.
Okay. Did you do any investigation into Ernie Shell?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Could you tell the court, just in general, and I want to start off by maybe what you found on the internet, and specifically with a website called lifeout.com.
Okay. Do you want me to tell how I became aware of Life
If
Out?
you could just tell the jury the whole story about your investigation.
Okay, there was a witness in our case, and they contacted me and told me that Ernie.
John, may we approach?
There was a witness in the case. They had contacted me and they had told me it's hearsay.
It's
She ready to
talking about the
talk
investigation, the
what-
steps
what
that
she
led up to
did.
it.
You still have to bring people on to talk about it.
We're getting
It's
into the
hearsay.
steps that led her to the lifeout.com website. I'm not talking about the truth of the matter. I'm just saying how she discovered it. It's investigative. It's an exception to the hearsay rule.
That's not true.
It is allowed.
There is no investigative.
There was no
exception to the
investigative
hearsay
exception to
rule.
hearsay, but she, tell me where she's going, so I can just get some context here.
Ernie Shell has a profile on a gay website, and our investigator found it. Ernie Shell denied being gay.
How can she authenticate that?
Huh?
How in the world can she authenticate that? Who knows who made the profile?
And you can question her about that all day long on your cross.
She located a website,
Yes.
right? And
Here's all I'm saying. When investigators are brought up here, I'm just asking that they be held to the same standards as our investigators. Hearsay is not admissible unless you
No,
have
it's
an
not.
exception. You have to authenticate pieces of evidence.
I'm getting there. I'm not even introducing a piece of evidence yet.
um,
I have to build up. I have to give some context on how she found this profile.
By saying, and who'd you talk to and what she said? You can't.
If you want to know the specifics, I can get into
No,
that.
you were asking for those specifics.
I told her to tell the story, and she got 3
Did the
sentences in
witness
and rejected.
testify? Did the witness testify? Did the witness she's referencing, did this witness testify?
I can ask.
I mean, if you
I was going to ask more specifics,
if
but
you want to bypass, it,
I'm
just
trying
go.
not to lose you down the road.
My question was that, is this a witness who's testified?
I can ask her.
No, you know you've been here.
He's saying is the girl who told her this stuff testifying.
I don't even know if she said it was a girl.
She's
Hey, let's give me a direct answer.
I don't know who the witness is. She just said it was a witness.
But why is it necessary that she even says that a witness was
That's what I'm
told?
saying. She went to a website. Then I'm going to come back up here and object to authentication.
I mean, if she, this,
Well, let me continue, and if it's still objection, we can.
can you show the website? Is it
I
gonna
have
be-
a print off of the website.
I mean, can we pull it up, and show it to the jury?
Well, I mean, can we go through authenticate? There are specific ways to authenticate websites, which they have not done anything towards that yet.
I'm not even close. I asked one question and I got objected to because he thinks he knows what I'm going to talk about. If you can read minds, let me know.
I know what she's saying when she says, and she told me. That's a good time to object for hearsay.
That much is hearsay.
She
That
did
much
right
is
say
hearsay.
Then I'm going to tell her not to tell me what other people said,
That's right.
but to
Okay.
just go through
Go
the
ahead and
investigation.
let's see where we're going.
Jessica, try not to tell me what other people said.
Okay.
Okay? Because we're just focused on what the people in that witness stand have said and what the evidence is here today. Okay?
Mhm.
So I was talking about your investigation and how you found a profile on wipeout.com.
Okay.
Okay? I think I need to ask a few more questions in order to make sure that we are on the same page.
Okay.
You've done some research on the internet about Ernie Shell, right?
Yes, I have.
And you know the internet, I mean, we all know what the internet is. You have looked at,
ma'am.
Yes.
nodded.
Okay.
looked at
Yes, sir.
Facebook profiles.
Yes, sir.
Could you tell me about how many profiles and about what you do as an investigator and how that process works?
What I do as an investigator is I look at Facebook, and there are multiple accounts under his name, under Ernie Shell. And on those, I go through photos, I look at comments, I look at friends, I look at places they have went, I look at things they post. A lot of people put way too much information on Facebook.
So you could see a photo from a profile of Ernie Shell,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And I'm just going to go ahead and say it. You don't know who posted that profile,
Correct.
do you?
No.
The only thing you can tell is that there's a Facebook page
Yes.
with Ernie Shell.
Yes.
So without getting into what other people have told you,
Correct.
eventually you were led to a website called lifeout.com.
Yes.
And what is that website?
It is I guess kind of like a match.com kind of thing for homosexual males.
Okay. Now, you're not a tech wizard.
No, but nowhere close to them.
So again, you don't know who created this Lifeout profile,
Correct.
but you know what your eyes can see.
Yes.
Okay. Tell me about lifeout.com and Ernie Shell.
On lifeout.com, there is an account with a, I guess, profile name or username of Goodone20111. And I located this on March the 6th of 2014. And I have a photo from one of the Facebook accounts of Ernie Shell that is of Ernie Shell, and the profile picture on the Good One account is cropped, but it's obvious to anyone that it is the same exact photo.
Okay. If I can approach and get yours, and if council would come approach the judge. Can I see those two? And the profile. Yeah, this is the lifeout.com profile,
Mhm.
and this is the picture of Ernie Shell. And I was just going to show
I
that to the
wanted
jury.
to introduce photographs.
Mhm.
There is a method for doing that under the rules of evidence, and that is that the photograph is relevant. I acknowledge that the witness is familiar with what is portrayed in the photograph,
Mhm.
which when she was there, she's not. The witness is familiar with the scene at the relevant date and time, which again, she was not there, she's not, and that the photograph fairly and accurately represents the scene at the time.
All right.
She cannot, or has not yet, authenticated these
Okay.
photographs.
She can say, I think it's fair to say, so far she's testifying from personal knowledge what she saw.
Uh-huh.
And I think she can testify from personal knowledge that she printed this off of Google, without saying who it is or what it is or anything else. I think you can go that far. We're not offering it. It's not a photograph that purports to show anything in particular. And she's not saying it's a fair reason. Why you'd have to, ordinarily, when photographs are introduced, it has to do with something, an event or a happening or something like that. And it says it's a fair and accurate representation of what it purports to be. She's not saying it purports to be anything at this point.
That would be my point, Your Honor, is that she can't. And the rules of evidence require that she do to introduce a photograph. I mean, that's just the rule.
It doesn't. She's not saying it represents anything. Unless she's saying it represents something specific, that's different.
She's saying it represents Ernie Shell, and at that same time,
Well,
not saying you did it.
Right now, Ernie Shell testified, and I'm looking at a picture of Ernie, a guy that looks like Ernie Shell, and it's up to the jury to decide whether or not that's Ernie Shell at this point. All right, it's admissible.
So I'm going to give it a go with some technology. And I want to make it clear, you are the one that printed off these pictures on the internet, and you're the one that looked them up.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Actually done this. We had to do a report to our COT department because we were in a meeting in London when I actually discovered this. And because it's a site of that nature, we had to do it. I had to notify my supervisor at the time, and they've done whatever they done with COT to.
So the first picture I want you to put under that camera is of the one you got off of Ernie Shell's Facebook, or a Facebook that had the name Ernie Shell.
Well, setting that up a council approach briefly. I'll clarify my ruling earlier. This is tantamount to saying I took that photograph. Not that you look at the photograph and say, this is a fair and accurate representation of what this scene was. You follow me?
That's the way I understood it.
And I think it's the same thing. It's tantamount to saying I took it, I downloaded it. That's it. Okay.
Ms. Wells, this is the picture that you printed off Facebook, right?
Yes.
And do you believe that to be Ernie Shell?
Yes.
Okay, can you show the next picture, which would be the printout of the lifeout.com profile?
Do you want the picture or do you want the profile?
Yes, the picture on the profile. We'll get to that picture later. Right there.
I good or need a little more?
Obviously, Ernie Shell's name's not on this, right?
Right.
Can everybody in the church see that? Now, if you could, show the third picture where you zoomed in on the Facebook picture. And you created that picture from the Facebook picture, right?
No, I did not create that from the Facebook.
Oh, you didn't?
I clicked on the profile picture on Lifeout, and that's how that picture was.
Oh, okay. So that's the
Because
lifeout picture.
if you see this picture and that picture are one in the same picture.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to introduce these two pictures in evidence. I don't know what number the defense is on.
I don't know what number you're up to either.
Maybe three?
Three. So these are two photographs collectively.
Yes.
Move to identify them as defendants. They're identified as defendants exhibit 3 collectively.
And it can be 3.1 and 3.2 if the court wants, or two different
All right.
documents.
3 and 3.1. Let's put it that way. They're identified. Is there any objection to their introduction?
Just based upon.
The objections asserted earlier. All right. And I overruled that. So they're introduced as defendants exhibits 3 and 3.1 respectively. They'll be marked by the clerk.
Ms. Wells, when you were looking at the Facebook profiles of Ernie Shell, did he have any jobs listed?
Yes, he did.
What were some of those?
Some of those were private investigator, fugitive recovery agent. I don't know how to answer that.
Bounty hunter?
Yes, bounty hunter. And or bail bondsman.
Did you do any investigation into whether Ernie was an actual bail bondsman?
Yes, I did.
Could you tell the jury kind of what you did leading up to this trial, the investigation you took?
Yes. In Tennessee, there is a association for professional bail agents, and it's called TAPBA, TAPBA. Is their abbreviation. They're based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and they have a record of every licensed bail agent in the state of Tennessee.
I want to stop you. Can you be a bail agent and not be licensed in Tennessee?
No, not.
Is it Tennessee law that you have to be licensed?
Yes.
Did you check and see if Ernie Shell was licensed?
Yes, I did.
And was Ernie Shell licensed?
I can read you the letter from Miss Hogg if you would like.
Well, in your investigation, did you ever find out if he was licensed?
No, never.
Okay, and then since Mr. Shell's testimony, double checked your investigation.
Yes.
And you've gotten a letter from the Tennessee Association of Professional Bail Agents, is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And that letter states,
I do not feel, I do not feel comfortable about sitting at that table with Chevy Shell directly behind me and no one, and I don't know where to stand and not make it
can you stand over here?
if y'all.
Anywhere.
I can move your camera over here. Go through.
I can see it, I just don't want it to be back there, and I don't want to make a scene with the jury, but I'm not going to sit with him behind me.
Just pull your chair out here.
I mean, I understand.
Yeah, she's standing.
Hearsay is not just
No,
words.
that's hearsay. I mean, yeah, she can't go into that. But she said enough. She said she couldn't find who he was licensed, and so leave it at that. But the letter's not admissible. All right.
And just for completeness, did you do the same process with the state of Virginia?
Yes.
Okay. Had Mr. Shell ever purported to be a deputy?
Yes.
What?
A deputy?
Yeah, yes, he had.
Did you do any investigation into that?
Yes.
Could you tell the jury what your investigation was?
We contacted the county that he claimed to be a sheriff's deputy at, and they said that they had no record of him ever being a deputy there.
Okay. And you said earlier part of your job was to talk to witnesses.
Yes.
Did you talk to a Pam Stidham?
Yes.
Could you tell me a little bit about what happened in your investigation and anything you obtained from Pam?
Ernie had lived with Pam for several months, according to Pam's
Have we approached Your Honor?
testimony.
Yeah. Ms. Stidham testified.
I'm not getting into what you said. I'm just getting a chain of custody for the computer so that we can introduce the contents of that computer.
Well, we'll do that.
That's what I'm doing.
Yeah, and then what computer?
The computer that belonged to Ernie Shell that
Okay.
Pam Stidham had. She testified to a laptop computer.
All right,
We have the contents of that computer.
let's move on. We're getting into sort of collateral issues that don't go directly to it. Anyway, let's move on.
When you talked to Pam Stidham, she told you about a computer.
Yes.
Could you tell the jury about that computer?
Pam had this computer that belonged to Ernie, and that he had it had froze up and he became aggravated, and he shot holes in the computer.
I'm just going to hold up. Is this the computer you got from Pam?
Yes. Below. Yep, that's it.
And it's the same computer that Pam said belonged to Ernie, right?
Yes.
Were you able to get any information off of that computer?
Yes, we took it to a gentleman that is very technologically intelligent, and he pulled some data off the basic hard drive for us.
So when you said we, you were part of that process?
Yes.
Here we have.
Have you got the guy here who pulled the information off of it?
She was there.
I mean, have you got the stuff? I mean, we mean she was there.
First
I mean,
off, we
she was
have,
there
we
to pull
have
the
no
stuff off.
definitive anything that this computer, well, one was Ernie Shell's, two, that this woman retrieved. I mean, this is a layperson that has brought a
She
computer
objected to her being a layperson.
to someone without any mechanism of retrieval. When was this retrieved? How? We know nothing about this.
Well, we know that Pam testified to it, so we know it's in evidence there. We know that she testified to getting it from Pam, and we know that you've stopped the rest of this testimony by this objection. So, I mean,
Let me
to
ask
say
you-
we know nothing is false.
You said she was there when he, what does that mean? She walked through every step with him?
I mean, she's wearing a lot of hats.
I know.
She's an investigator.
She-
She
Well, yeah,
investigates.
that don't mean,
We
that don't mean she can do everything.
Thirty year detective with the state police. We still have to have people up here. talking
Yeah,
to
they
us.
have to bring in all kinds of experts to testify to every little detail they've done. And I mean, you're talking about, so she's talking about somebody else took off a computer who can't, there's no link up here.
But the link is the stuff on the computer, which has pictures of
Well,
Ernie County.
yeah,
So-
you know what I'm talking about. The guy, whoever it is, that took it off the computer.
I'm confused.
Oh, you know you're not. Who took it off the computer?
The computer guy.
Is he here?
I mean, we can have him here if the court wants, or I mean, we can go through the
It's
four
not, it's not my
questions.
case. I don't have a dog in this fight. You
She was a part of the whole
have your
process.
witnesses here.
She can authenticate these pictures the same way she authenticated the other pictures.
Which was a proper authentication. I'll put in my objections.
It's the same process. There's no different process. She has seen these things. They self-authenticate. They are pictures.
There's a bit,
Self-authentication
there's
is
a little bit
illegal.
It's
different from
completely self-authenticated.
opening up something on a computer and printing it out.
Yeah.
I'm fine with that. But when someone else has done it, and they're not here to describe what they did and how they did it.
There's no magic technological thing to copying a file. It is not something that you need an expertise for. I can do it in 3 seconds, and I have no training on computers. All you do is copy
Does
it
that
from one
computer,
thing to
does that
another.
computer run?
Huh?
Does that computer run?
Yes. It is a perfect hard drive. You just copy it. There's no.
We're going to go through this
there's no
off the
magic
record first.
expertise.
We're going to go through this stuff off the record. Not off the record. We're going to go through this out of the presence of the jury first. I want to know more about this stuff. But, when you take Mike Cornet's up here testifying, he testifies a little bit, then they got to bring in an expert from Frankfurt to tell you precisely what they did. Testifies a little bit more, and they bring in another expert to tell you precisely what they did.
Because it's the rules.
That's the way
Because they use
evidence
experts.
works.
This is not expertise. There's nothing expert about copying a file. You do not need to be an expert to use a computer. It's 2019. You don't need
Mr.
an
Seidelman.
expertise in copying things.
Mr. Seidelman, this has to do with who does what, and she said someone else did it.
I will agree with that, but if you will let me ask some questions about
I'm going to let the jury step out, and we're going to go through it out of their presence, and then I'll make a decision on it.
Okay.
But now, just because you represent the defendant doesn't mean you get to leapfrog over evidentiary matters that are required.
I understand your concern, and hopefully without the presence of the jury, I can clarify it. But my position is that nothing that has been done in this investigation requires an expert.
Everything requires personal knowledge.
That is true, and I'm going to get to the personal knowledge.
So, okay, so for you. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to do something outside your presence for about 15 minutes. I apologize. I know this is it's been difficult for you. Please, if you will, step outside. Same admonition. I don't put any opinions. Don't talk among yourselves about it. And we'll be moved as long as fast as we can. All right. Okay, sure. All right. All right. Let's see what we're doing here.
Okay. We back on the record.
We're We're on the record.
I need to plug this in.
Well, maybe we don't need to be on the record. I don't know. I'm gonna find out what you're all talking about.
Well, Your Honor, if,
But I'm gonna caution you, you can only testify to matters in your personal knowledge.
yes, I believe she has personal knowledge of what came from this computer. I don't understand why it's an issue, but if it's gonna be an issue,
she said someone else, wait a minute. She said someone else took this stuff off the computer.
yeah, and gave it to her. I mean,
And gave
there's
it to
obviously
you.
collect evidence
It
to
was
talk
a
to
gentleman
witnesses.
that works on computers.
It
and
was
he-
what?
It was a gentleman that works on computers, and he took the hard drive, plugged it into a little thing he has, and pulled the information from the hard drive, put it on a flash drive, and gave it to me.
Okay.
He didn't edit it or
He
change
didn't.
it.
He said that it could be dug into further if we chose to do so, but that was just the main basic hard drive.
And what kind of data was it?
There were photos, anything basic off of what your
If the
computer
court
would
will
have.
turn on the TV, I can show it.
Photos and just files and things like that.
To give a comparison, Your Honor, I know Jeff Rogers, the expert at the Commonwealth Ed, is an expert, but he didn't bring in the software makers for Cellbrite. He didn't bring in the people that actually extract the information from.
Who are you
the phone.
talking about?
Jeff Rogers, he testified
The
earlier.
phone guy?
The phone
Yeah.
guy. Like for comparison's sake, his job is to get data from a phone and pull reports from it. Jessica's job was to try to get the information off the computer. He used some tools, he used some software to get that information. We didn't ask him to bring in the people that wrote up the software. or
I'm not
bring in the
asking for that. I'm not talking about that.
We're not asking for.
We
all
got
the
an
details.
unknown person out here who took the stuff off the computer.
Right.
Here's the second part, Your Honor, is Mr. Rogers went through the data and collected what was important and highlighted it in a format where people could read. Now, our guy did not do that. That's not been done. This is a straight,
I don't care what Mr. Rogers did, and no one objected to what Mr. Rogers did.
We didn't ask for extra explanation of how.
Well, that's
Mr. Rogers
fine,
did his job.
but
Jessica did her job, we don't think.
Hey,
we
hey,
have
hey,
an
hey.
Explanation for her.
that's apples and oranges.
I'm not saying it's not apples and oranges.
You didn't object.
No, I'm not
He's
objecting.
objected. He's objected.
He is
So now we're dealing with an objection, an evidentiary objection. And he's objecting because the guy who did this isn't here to say what he did and how he did and were you there when he did it?
I was not there when he pulled it from the hard drive onto the.
No.
Your Honor, if I could just point out that the files on the computer speak for themselves. And as far as authentication goes, if the court wants to say that he ever touched this data, he didn't. There was no physical touching of the data. He just pushed it from one thing to another. There is no, he never had possession of it. He never
There's no
touched it.
link between the computer and the files and her, other than that he sent this unknown person sent her some files.
We asked for copies.
Huh?
Basically, we asked for copies. Instead of asking for paper copies, we asked him to.
Look,
make copies of
you're
the files.
avoiding, you're not addressing the issue. The person is this, the guy that did this isn't here.
Right, but if you make copies with paper, you wouldn't ask for the copier to come to court. This man made a copy of the hard drive. We have a copy of the hard drive. It's an image, it's a copy.
Who can certify that it's a copy?
Nobody has.
Who can certify it's a copy?
Your Honor,
Who?
respectfully.
Answer my question,
I
please.
know the guy's name.
There you are.
We took it to him, he made a copy. We could take something that he goes and make a copy, it would be the same thing. It's a copy. It's a duplicate. They're admissible and they've been admissible forever. The fact that it's a.
You still have to authenticate things, and you have to have some kind. You have to have evidence that this is what it is purported to be.
Well, and we do have that, one, the laptop was testified to by Ms. Stidham earlier. She said that Shelby shot it up in the road in front of her house.
I'm Shelby Ernie.
Not Shelby, sorry, Ernie.
There is no.
But we
But we have that laptop. We have a big gap, and then we have you saying, or the witness prepared to say that this stuff came from that laptop, but no link between the two.
We
No
have
evidentiary link between the two.
a copy of the laptop.
That's
I
it.
understand that you're probably overruling our.
I am.
request to have
I
this
am.
evidence submitted.
It's overruled.
We do need to present it by a vowel, Your Honor.
Huh?
We do need to present it by a vowel, and we can also say that the laptop was dropped off and the copy was picked up, just like any copy.
You can present anything you want by vowel, but it's overruled.
Thank you,
So
Your Honor.
start your vowel.
Okay, are we on record?
Yes, we've always had been.
Ms. Wells, is this that is on the screen, these files, did they come from the laptop that you got from Pam Stidham?
Yes.
And I want to talk a little bit about that process. You got the laptop from Pam
Yes.
and you took it to a computer person
Yes.
and he copied that stuff and you have a copy of what was on the hard drive,
Yes.
right?
Yes. On a flash drive.
Okay. And in that, you have everything that was on that computer, right?
Yes.
It was just a copy.
Just a copy. Yes.
Okay. Is that TV on?
It was, it's just gone off.
That was the Elmo guy. Yeah.
Can you just back up a little bit where y'all sit?
Can you turn off the elbow maybe too? Maybe it'll stay on.
Ms. Wells, I'm looking at some pictures of Jason masks. Can you see
Yes.
those?
Yes, I can.
And specifically, I'm going to put on a couple of things here. This is a picture of a fugitive recovery agent image.
Yes.
And this is a fugitive recovery agent badge.
Yes.
And again, I'm not going to open up every one of these, but just finally, can you see this one here? That says fugitive recovery agent right there.
Yes, I can.
And that was all on Ernie Shell's computer.
Yes, it was.
Okay, now I'm going to take you to just one more set of pictures. Obviously, there's more face badges, but I'm going to show you this one.
Yes.
That's Ernie Shell right there,
Yes, it is.
and that is a fugitive recovery agent badge.
Yes, it is.
And I'm going to refer back to this picture.
Yes.
Can you see that?
Yes, those appear to be the same type of.
And those are all pictures you got from Ernie Shell's computer.
Yes, sir, it is.
Your Honor, I'd like to move to enter the contents of this computer by ballot.
By ballot.
It has been excluded.
Did you want to cross? John,
No.
Mr. Lee, did you
No.
want to cross? All right, it's introduced by, by vowel, but not as, evidence in this case, at least not at this time. And I'm not even sure about the relevance of it, but anyway, let's get the jury back in here.
Your Honor, if I may, I'm just so that we don't continue to do this. Do you all want to talk about what you're trying to put on for her to see if we have an objection and we can do it outside of their presence so we can be seamless?
I don't have a lot more. I mean, if you're going to object to everything I say, then I guess we just have to do
Well,
it.
Let's don't go there now. Look, the defendant has a right to put on a defense, but case after case will tell you the defense does not have an unfettered right to put on evidence that I'm not even sure how relevant this is to any of the issues in this case, and not an unfettered right to just kill time, and not an unfettered right to introduce inadmissible evidence. Period. Now, we're going to move on. And Mr. Lee asked you a question a moment ago. And I'm not, Mr. Lee, I'm not quite sure what your question was.
My question was simply, I was trying to, and honestly, to help them by saying, if you have other evidence that you're going to be putting in, one of his complaints was every time I ask a question, you object. I will continue to do that. It's my job.
Well, there's been grounds for objections.
But in any event, if he wanted to, they don't have to go ahead and talk about what they're planning on putting through with her. I could then state now if I have an objection outside of the jury's presence, and after your rulings, the testimony may be seamless. I don't care either way. I'm still going to object if it's objectionable.
That may be a good way to go.
I'm not talking about complete testimony, Mr. Solomon. I'm just talking about if you have other pieces of evidence you're going to try and put in, if you want to go over that now. I don't care.
Your Honor, I was going to introduce testimony about him working on the 21st and the 22nd. I've got payroll transactions from his work that I think are business records that show that he got paid for that week. And I have some checks,
All right.
which aren't as clear, and I'm probably not going to introduce those because I can't even see them.
Can your witness testify that she recovered these from his employer and things like that to authenticate?
I have no objection to the 21st and 22nd
Okay.
documents. The check documents I'd like to see, I probably will object to those.
I'm not going to introduce the check document.
Okay.
I can't see anything on them, so.
All right. Anything else that you'd like to bring up at this moment?
Okay.
I have phone records.
That was 3 and 3.1.
But
We have the silver records that we can use, I'm not sure that.
Right.
So I don't think we need to.
that's what I'm saying, we already have to sell that stuff, so I don't really.
It's not in evidence, so if we went into it, have a full coverage, put it into evidence, we have to use those.
Can we introduce within that?
You can, and we have jointly stated we would introduce it, a print off. We need to do that. Print off 1,800 pages.
I'm just writing this on my phone, the full records are on the desk.
But we've already agreed, and it's on the record. You guys can talk about Cellbrite and close it as much as you want.
So I'm not going to introduce phone records, I don't think. because we've got that Celebrate record and it says what we need it to say. So that's about it.
No objections to the 21st, 22nd. That's
All
all I
right, so
say.
we need to get the jury back in here, I guess. Coach? I'll get it. I'll get it.
Yeah, that's put in by Val. Your Honor, are we making a distinction between the evidence that this was put in by Val? I have several objections to the laptop, chain of custody, not the least of which, but.
Bye, Val.
Okay.
Got one in the back.
Okay, all right. Sit down, get it. All right, the jury. Come on in, folks. All right, folks, have a seat. Anything to report? All right, very good. Okay, let's move on.
All right. Ms. Foss, did you do any investigation into Shelby Shell's employment?
Yes, I did.
And did Mr. Shell work the week of 2/17 to 2/25?
He worked Sundays that week.
He worked on the 20th and the 21st.
Yes, he did.
Were you able to obtain payroll records?
I did obtain payroll records. I would have
Can I
to view them.
approach? Forward you? And is that a record showing Mr. Shell's income for the week of
222?
what he got paid on 2/22?
Yes, it is.
Okay. And did you obtain that from Qualcan?
Yes, from
Industry.
Canport Industrial, from the Human Resources Department.
Okay. Your Honor, I'd like to admit this in evidence. That's
This is income for what period?
for the 20th and the 21st. The days.
All right, any objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, this is introduced as a payroll transaction. As defendants exhibit
Number 5.
5.
And Ms. Rose, I believe that's all the questions I have for now.
All right. Any cross?
Yes, Your Honor. Ma'am, were you present here for Ernie Shell's testimony during this trial?
Yes, I was.
Okay. And did he deny on the stand being a deputy? A
I-
deputy sheriff, did he deny?
I think he did deny it on the stand.
Okay. Now, the photos that you have spoken about today earlier, do you dispute the fact that anyone who with internet access could have accessed those photographs?
So I don't dispute that.
You didn't need any special codes or training or anything of that nature to access those?
No, sir.
Okay. Are you familiar with the term catfished?
Yes.
Could you describe your knowledge of what catfished is?
Catfish, to my knowledge, not that it's correct, but to my opinion, is that someone creates a fake account and portrays to another individual, convincing them they're someone else when they are in fact not.
Okay. I'm going to read you a statement concerning catfishing. Would you please let me know if you believe this is an accurate description? A person who sets up a false personal profile on a social networking site for fraudulent or deceptive purposes, catfishing.
Seems pretty accurate, yes.
I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
No? Is this witness excused?
Yes, sir.
You've been in the courtroom all along. You may sit down now. You may
Thank
be recalled out. All right. Anthony?